So the purpose of this, okay, so we, another thing to note is we are recording this meeting so that we can review any comments that we've received. Okay, so purpose of this open house is threefold, really. First of all, to generate some awareness and hopefully interest among all of you in the plan process, to let you know what it is and our overall process and timeline, and some of the issues that we'll be studying in our plan. We would also like to promote awareness of military and community issues in the South Sound in general, which many of you may be familiar with or may not be. So we would like to increase the awareness of those important issues. And then we want to hear feedback from all of you about your experiences in the South Sound and questions and concerns that you have. And those will ultimately guide our study and help form and inform some of the plan recommendations that come out of this study. So the reason that we do public open houses like these and stakeholder outreach in general is for a number of reasons. We as consultants are professional planners, and we have a certain set of knowledge and experience in education, and we can do a lot of research behind our desks, but there's a lot of knowledge and expertise that other stakeholders have that we don't have, firsthand knowledge of the region and day-to-day issues and how they affect you, that we really don't know unless we ask you. And in addition to that, we have technical knowledge, but we need to make sure that our studies are considering the different values of the various stakeholders in the region. And then more generally, we would like to encourage collaboration among all stakeholders, everyone who is, has a stake in this plan and is invested in the region, and really build trust between the planning team, the SSMCP, all of the regional stakeholders and organizations, and the general public. So to get you oriented with our process today, we have a brief PowerPoint presentation. We'll spend a couple of slides here orienting you to our process, and then we'll discuss the growth coordination plan and its purpose, the process that we're following, the subject matter, and some of the elements that will be included in that plan, which include a number of what we're calling resource areas. And really, these are the focus areas of the plan and the subject matter of the plan. And then we will provide brief summaries of each of those and some of our initial findings and next steps. And then we will talk about ways for you to stay involved in this process, which will include submitting any comments or questions during this session, as well as viewing the virtual open house room that's on our project website. And we'll preview that for you and show you where you can find that later. And you can review some poster boards that we put together to summarize some of the issues and submit comments through that website. There's also a public survey that can be accessed through that website that we encourage you all to take, and then multiple opportunities for you to submit comments or questions and to stay involved as the process goes along. This is really just one opportunity to be involved in the process, as we will be continuing this plan for the next several months into 2022. So there will be future opportunities, and through the project website, you can stay up to date with the progress of this plan. So before we dive into talking about the growth coordination plan, we should give a little bit of background on just JBLM in general. Joint Base Lewis McChord is a joint base that was formed from the merger of the former Fort Lewis Army Post and McChord Air Force Base. It over a decade ago joined together and now is under a joint administration and is what is referred to as a joint base. Members from all of the U.S. Armed Services come from all over to train at JBLM. This is a key location for rapid deployment to the Asia Pacific region, which includes the Middle East. There are a number of different missions at JBLM that include the Global Combat Humanitarian Airlift that uses the C-17s, which are the big jets you see flying around. JBLM also serves as an introduction to the Pacific Northwest for personnel who are assigned here. So people are assigned from all over the country, some of whom have never been to the Pacific Northwest, and this provides them an introduction to the region. And it's a very popular assignment to get. It's one of the most requested duty stations in the military because it's beautiful here and there are a lot of things to do. And many people who serve here choose to retire here. And you'll see that's one of the issues that we're considering in this plan is how to consider those veterans who choose to retire here and really how to make use of those experiences and skills that they bring to the region. So JBLM is a geographically large base. It also encompasses a lot of people. 52,000 people compose the workforce, and that includes active duty service members as well as civilian and contract employees, and over 60,000 family members as well. Now, the SSMCP, the South Sound Military and Communities Partnership, is the organization leading this study. It was established as a result of the 2010 Growth Coordination Plan, which is the plan that we are reviewing and updating currently. It serves as a primary point of contact between community leaders and JBLM. And over 50 organizations in the South Puget Sound are represented through the SSMCP via membership and participation in regular meetings and forums. And this includes JBLM, the local jurisdictions, the local cities and counties, the Nisqually Indian Tribe, corporate and small business leaders, nonprofit organizations, and other government department and agencies from local to regional to state to federal agencies. So there are a number of different topic areas that are within the purview of the SSMCP. These include military relations, transportation and land use. A lot of work around the I-5 corridor has been completed thanks to a lot of efforts through the SSMCP, as well as coordinated land use planning in the region. Environmental protection, emergency preparedness, data coordination, workforce development, education, healthcare, many different issues fall under the purview of the SSMCP and are looked at from the lens of regional coordination and coordination between military and the general community. So the SSMCP serves as a clearinghouse for regional data. It shares and distributes data that exists in the region. It serves as a liaison to national and local organizations. It provides legislative advocacy on issues of importance in the region and related to military and community issues. And ultimately, the SSMCP, because it is a member-driven organization, it's funded through member donations and grant funding. It really needs to it needs to focus its time and resources on activities that are going to have the highest impact, and that's one of the purposes of this current effort. This current growth coordination plan is really to identify what those areas are and where the highest impact is going to be made, so that we can make recommendations on how the SSMCP can fulfill this role in a really high impact way. Okay, so I'm going to give an overview of the growth coordination plan itself. In 2010, there was the original growth coordination plan was conducted. It was funded through a grant from the OEA, the Office of Economic Adjustment, and it looked at a number of different issues of military and community importance. Its really primary recommendation was for increased regional coordination and to form a body to fill that role. And that is how the SSMCP came into being as a result of this plan. The 2022 Growth Coordination Plan is funded by a federal grant, again, through OLDCC, which OEA changed its name to OLDCC, which is the Organization for Local Development Community Cooperation. And our scope of work is to review the 2010 Growth Coordination Plan, determine what worked well, what has been implemented, and what hasn't been implemented from the recommendations of that plan, identify any gaps in the plan, determine what has changed since 2010, and then to make recommendations and update the plan and produce a new 2022 Growth Coordination Plan that will provide the basis for SSMCP's future work plan. So it'll be an action-oriented plan that'll advance quality of life issues for JBLM and the broader South Sound region. And the final plan will be released in late winter, early spring of 2022. The current growth coordination plan has a mission statement and a series of goals that it intends to achieve. So broadly, the mission statement is to develop a long-range action plan to assess existing conditions, identify opportunities for improvement, establish a framework of implementable and measurable action items. And those items are designed to improve the general welfare of the JBLM region and balance military readiness and community issues. Now, there are a series of goals as well. I won't read these word for word, but there are a number of different things that we are looking at. Some of them tie into the current mission and work plan of SSMCP, and there are a couple of items that are there in bold that are a slightly different focus than what the current work plan has, but these are based on some of the feedback that we've received from stakeholders so far in this process. So some of the goals include leveraging the clout that the SSMCP currently has to advocate for funding and improvements in the region, to identify gaps in public services. These include infrastructure, education, public health, childcare, et cetera. To enhance economic development opportunities, to promote awareness of the economic benefits that JBLM provides to the region, to collaborate with workforce development organizations to retain and capture veterans' military experience so that can be a boon to the local economy when those folks choose to retire and stay in the region. To support partner communities and collaborate with other organizations to expand attainable housing opportunities in the region, to improve regional mobility for all modes of travel, and then to really create an actionable, implementable plan that examines SSMCP's organizational structure and really provides that high impact plan that I was talking about, the steps that are really going to make a big difference in the region. So this current effort kicked off at the beginning of this year and began with some background research from our team looking at the prior plan and existing data. We then interviewed SSMCP leadership and core stakeholders, while we also began to develop some initial metrics and analyze gaps of the previous plan. And now that we're moving into summer, we're beginning to conduct public outreach, including this virtual open house. We are creating a draft existing conditions report, which will summarize our analysis to date, and then we'll begin to develop some draft recommendations that then in the fall will be reviewed and vetted with SSMCP leadership and other key stakeholders, and then refined into a draft growth coordination plan. And then based on feedback received from those draft recommendations and the draft plan, we'll finalize the growth coordination plan in March of 2022. So one of the things that we are doing with this plan is we're looking back to 2010 to that original growth coordination plan, and we're determining what has changed in the 11 plus years since that time. And one of the first things we did was really look at what was the 2010 plan effective at, and we want to make sure that we're maintaining that as we go forward, while we're also identifying new conditions, new issues, and gaps that really weren't addressed by that previous plan. So the previous plan was very successful in identifying the broad issues that are forming the structure of this plan. It brought people together. It really resulted in the coordination, in the creation of the SSMCP, and allowed for continued conversation among the regional stakeholders and partners, and really focused that communication on shared regional issues. And then it has given rise to the SSMCP, which has been very effective in lobbying for legislation around these issues. So with that, that's a very high level overview of the plan as a whole. Now, the plan has 8 what we call resource areas, and these are just subjects of focus, which include things such as education, childcare, and schools, transportation, economic development, land use, etc. And we are going to provide some very brief summaries, and we'll have our team speak to each of these issues and just give an overview of what some of the issues of importance are. And then we'll wrap it back up and open it back up for questions. You'll notice on each of these slides, we've got images of poster boards that will be a little too small for you to read on your screen, but these are located on the virtual open house website, which we'll preview in a few minutes. But we encourage you to, after this session is over, to go into the website, take a close look at each of those boards. There's a lot of information there. And you can review those and then ask any questions that come to mind, or submit any comments that you have after reviewing those. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Josh Kibitza from AHBL, and he's going to talk about education, childcare, and schools. So if you're ready, Josh.
I'm ready, Jeff. Thank you.
All right, take it away.
There we go. Okay, so the Education, Child, and Schools resource area is primarily focused on identifying how changes at JBLM affect enrollment and funding for K-12 education providers, and determine how JBLM can better support child centers and schools. So the initial findings in the child care, and this probably will not surprise anyone on this call, is that COVID-19 has had a big impact on base childcare enrollment due to capacity limits, and that's even off base is having the same issues, resulting in more families looking off base, and off base is also having a shortage of child care providers, which has only been exacerbated by COVID-19, many having wait lists that are months. I've even heard up to 2 years long. And interviews with the child care centers describe how difficult it is to attract and retain employees due to hours and salaries. And because of that, they've been increasing prices due to employee wages. And so there's been a growing desire for child care to be addressed at the federal level to help these discrepancies in the amount of child care providers. Regarding schools, 20% of JBLM families are able to get on base housing and attend on base schools. So JBLM, but the JBLM does offer resources to help parents and kids transition between the schools. And in interviews with Clover Park School District, they've indicated that they've had improved coordination with JBLM, with Clover Park being the primary on base school district. Regarding higher education, it's been particularly hard to track military and military connected individuals unless they're using the GI Bill. So that's been an area that we've already noticed that we'll need to spend more time researching how to better review that data. And so how can you help in this resource area is that we're trying to also, while we understand that childcare is expensive and there's a short supply and it's a major concern, we're also trying to identify the additional childcare and educational challenges that are facing the region. So in the survey or the boards later on, or even in the Q&A, having answers or additional input in that would be very helpful. Can I get the next slide? The land use and housing resource area is to identify and recommend tools to manage land use compatibility between military use, JBLM, and the neighboring community. Identify potential land use capacity issues due to projected growth. Pierce County, Thurston County are provided growth projections, and so determining how much housing units and growth each city and jurisdiction can take is a capacity issue. And identify land use trends and issues that could impact JBLM. Those could be anywhere from climate change to even COVID-19 changes in land uses. So since 2010, SSMCP has completed a number of reports to implement the 2010 Growth Coordination Plan. One of the biggest ones is the 2015 joint land use study that looked at the land use compatibility between JBLM and neighboring communities. That established a lot of the clear zones and aircraft accidental zones, and also created, helped allow Lakewood to start receiving funds to purchase properties in the clear zones. In 2019, they finished their SSMP completed the military important overlay and lighting study. And then in 2020, SSMCP completed the off installation housing study that primarily looked at the housing for E1, E5 ranks with dependents. Since the 2020 Growth Coordination Plan, PSRC has also completed their Vision 2050, so we've reviewed that. And Thurston County and Pierce County are either done or in the process of completing their buildable lands report that ties back to the land use capacity issues. So initial findings, and I know this won't surprise anyone, but the top issue is always going to be the housing costs and affordability or attainability, primarily due to supply issues. And interviews have suggested that this has led to a shift in the military and community populations moving south into Thurston County. And while Pierce County and Thurston County have adequate land capacity based on the buildable land reports to meet future housing needs, the current housing availability will continue to be an issue until supply is increased. As such, there's been a large desire between the various regional and local communities to have a regional housing coordination plan. Other issues that we've looked at is that an audit of the 2015 JLU study is probably needed to determine if there's any missing opportunities. There's been a large desire, again, in a lot of the stakeholder interviews to improve planning coordination between the local jurisdiction and JBLM, maybe even through city code requirements. And while COVID-19 land use impacts were a big discussion topic of how people are working from home and how that might change the land uses around JBLM, it's also been it's been too early to tell that with a lot of offices being reopened and everyone going back, that we're not sure at this time if COVID is really going to have any impact whatsoever into JBLM and their land use compatibility. So how can you help with this section? It would be beyond the limited housing availability and affordability, what other land use issues that I haven't discussed are facing the region that should be discussed. And that's it for my land use section. I'll give it off to transportation.
Thanks, Josh. So I think Paul, you're up.
Actually, it's going to be John. Yeah.
Okay. Take it away, John.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. So a number of big changes in the transportation system since the Growth Coordination Plan was prepared in 2010. One of the biggest, I think, that everyone can see is the expansion of I-5 through JBLM. It was funded and approved in 2015 by the state legislature, and it's currently under construction, making great progress. That project includes an HOV lane expansion and rebuilding in the Berkeley Street and Thorn Lane interchanges, which provide important access to JBLM. Additional improvements to the DuPont Stilcombe Road interchange are coming in the years ahead. Also, since 2010, JBLM funded important access improvements on base, such as the new Integrity Gate to North Lewis, the Mounts Road Gate that provides an alternative to I-5, and also the inter-base connector road between Lewis, Maine and McCord, which allows base personnel to stay within the secure perimeter of the base when traveling between the Army and Air Force areas of the base. Finally, travel demand to the base has decreased over the last 10 years, consistent with the drawdown in the number of active duty personnel stationed at the base. Trips to and from the base have declined by approximately 40% over that time frame. Yet volumes along I-5 have continued to increase due to more cross-county and regional travel demand. When it comes to the pandemic, as everyone has experienced, travel has been impacted. Transit has been particularly hard hit. Bus routes have been suspended by both Intercity and Pierce Transit, in addition to the on-base bus service Go Transit. Actually, Go Transit recently reopened earlier this month, and other regional bus routes are anticipated to come back online in the year ahead. Transit ridership, though, in general is down 50 to 70%, depending upon the route, and is slowly recovering. Travel along I-5, though, has nearly recovered and is close to pre-pandemic levels from 2019. Moving forward, we expect more emphasis on trips into and out of Thurston County due to the lower cost of living and more affordable housing options. There will continue to be pressures on I-5 and regional travel across the county, across the two counties, and a need to address bottlenecks such as the Nisqually Delta and also along SR 507 on the east side of the base. Other changes it's expected in travel are mostly going to be driven through some of what we're seeing the outcomes from the pandemic, things such as hybrid working schedules where more people are working from home and not traveling to the office as often, or avoiding peak travel times. There are also other changes expected related to more reliance on local freight for deliveries, ride sharing options, and micromobility services. So the updated transportation section of the plan will be assessing how these and other issues will change the transportation needs and priorities in the area. Thank you. I think now we're going on to economic development.
Thanks, John. And do we have Bob or Jen here? We might need to give them access here. Maria, are you able to give panelists access to Bob Parker?
Yes, let me find him. I don't, hold on, here we go. Bob Parker should be able to speak.
Apologies for that. Thanks. I'm Bob Parker with Echo Northwest. We are doing the economic element of the coordination plan. And the intended outcomes of this part of the study are focused on providing an overview of the regional economy, a very detailed overview, looking at the economic impacts of JBLM on the regional economy, which are quite substantial, as shown in the table to the left. Understanding what objectives regional economic development organizations are pursuing at this point, particularly with respect to leveraging the economic impacts of the base, and identifying opportunities to further leverage that to enhance regional prosperity. So some of the key findings that we have so far are around the economic impact of the base. Obviously, it's the largest employer in Pierce County and has a $13 billion statewide footprint and a $12 billion footprint in Pierce and Thurston counties. That there's a rapid growth that is creating related issues with housing availability. Congestion is transport just talked to, and freight concerns. That there are opportunities around workforce, the retention of veterans to live and work in the area, and to leverage the skills of the workforce coming off the base. Looking at contracting, the military has substantial contracts, and there may be opportunities to further leverage that for economic activity in the area. Thinking about how existing industry clusters relate to the base and how those could be capitalized upon related to workforce. Thinking about the economic importance of the base, and then coordinating with SSMCP.
Okay, thanks, Bob. So we'll move on to social services. I think we have Jen Cristobal.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jen. You'll hear quite a number of themes on the focus areas that we're looking at that you've heard some other folks talk about already. The nature of the service members who are stationed at JBLM has changed over the past 10 years. The nature of deployment has changed. There are not the kind of intense kind of overseas engagements going on. There's a lot less deployed family members overseas. And that is definitely something that's impacted a number of our focus areas: social services, public safety, and healthcare. Probably not utilities quite as much, but definitely a big impact in the region in terms of the service members there. Regarding social services also, we're taking a look at, the 2010 plan, taking a look at the current social services and opportunities, both on and off base to update that. But one thing that, quite a few things have changed since 2010 that we're taking a look at. There's the 211 phone system to help people get connected with Health and Human Services. And the Department of Defense has really changed their approach to social services as well. There are a lot more services embedded in units and a lot more access at the PCP level for folks to get those things. So we're taking a look at all of that and how that plays into the region, and really hopefully helps to set the region up to be more resilient in the event of a future overseas engagement where folks are deployed again, and there won't be so much such a shortage or lack of social services availability as there was in 2010. Next slide. Public safety is another one that really, the nature of the service members has changed this a lot. Right now, there's really good communication between the communities and JBLM. Folks are feeling very engaged. The JBLM operations and safety is also a big focus. We heard Josh talking a lot about the clear zones and how to, how the local communities are approaching that around land use. A lot of coordination around training activities, nighttime artillery, and controlled burns, things like that. A lot of things that people are curious about and that can kind of impact feelings of safety on and off the base. And what we're really looking at here is just kind of trying to take a look at that, and then also try to understand how that interconnects with social services, housing, land use, and some of these other focus areas. There's also recent legislation from 2010. It's a new package of sort of police accountability measures at the state level. So a lot of police departments are implementing that now. So that will be something to keep an eye on in the coming years. Next slide. In terms of utilities and infrastructure, there's been a lot of look at climate change in the region, a lot of really great data in this region to look at climate change. We've also been able to take a look at some of the results out of the Army Climate Assessment Tool, something that the Army Corps of Engineers has developed to help Army leadership understand what their climate vulnerabilities are. We've also spent a lot of time looking at the changes around legislation and court rulings around potable water. So, I know we heard from Josh and, talking about land use and housing, availability and things like that. There's a lot of new changes in the last couple years around, how water rights are distributed, how water plans are completed. So that'll be definitely something to look towards in the future, how or if SSMCP is going to get involved with this water rights issue, the water planning in the region, and the stream flow restoration topics. Next slide. And again, healthcare, obviously something that touches really, the social services topic very, very closely, and also the public safety as well. Lots and lots of changes on the DoD side. In terms of how, what's going on with the on-base, care providers, the off-base care providers, but some things really that haven't changed as well, like the reimbursement rates, for folks who are trying to get care off-base and using their, TRICARE through their, DoD healthcare. So definitely taking a look at that. Definitely some things here that connect in with the economic development piece. Certainly something that touches a lot of people's lives. And we'll be looking at kind of emerging trends. Certainly too soon to say with a lot of certainty how COVID has impacted trends. So we're taking a hard look at things, through 2019, and then taking another kind of separate hard look at what's happened since 2019 to try to see if that's revealed some kind of gaps in the system that may not have been revealed otherwise. So kind of trying to take two looks there, understanding that hopefully the last couple of years are outliers and we're not going to have to live like this permanently into the future. Next slide, Jeff. I'll send it back to you for the quality of life and recreation section.
All right. Thank you, Jen. So our final resource area is quality of life. Now, the 2010 Growth Coordination Plan considered quality of life to be things like parks, open spaces, recreational amenities, as well as cultural programs, library services, things of that nature. The 2010 plan noted that the opportunities for these sorts of amenities in the region are rich and varied, and that certainly has not changed. However, they're not evenly distributed, so not all places and not all people have equal access to all the great opportunities that exist in the region. So one of the key thrusts of the 2010 plan, and will be similar this time around, is really how do we, what measures can we take to improve the access to all of the great opportunities and amenities for all people and all portions of the region. Now, in addition to parks and open space and recreational amenities, quality of life is really a broader issue that intersects with many of the other aspects of this plan. So for instance, access to healthcare, access to childcare, these things all affect our overall quality of life. So one of the questions that we need to ask when looking at this section is, what aspects of the region contribute most to a high quality of life, and what are the biggest barriers that exist to a quality of life in a holistic nature. Now, when looking just at parks and open space and recreational amenities, even just that narrow focus does contribute to quality of life in a number of different ways, including environmentally, access to clean air and clean water, urban forestry goals, tree canopy. This can capture carbon emissions and fight air pollution. So there are a lot of other effects of providing parks and open space, recreational amenities, cultural programs. These sorts of things can contribute to overall quality of life and health of people, providing opportunities for community and a shared sense of purpose and belonging by using these amenities and contributing participating in cultural programs. And then, finally, parks and open space, providing access to nature is important for overall health. And COVID-19 really highlighted, the need for outdoor gathering spaces. We were forced to gather outdoors and maybe recognize that, we need those spaces. And in some places, maybe we didn't have the right kinds of spaces to be able to facilitate that sort of outdoor gathering. So how you can help with this section is really just give us input on what contributes most to your quality of life, what are the biggest barriers, what recreational amenities would you use if they were more available or more accessible, and where do you go and what do you do to get a feeling of belonging in the region. Okay, so that was just a quick summary of all of the resource areas that make up the focus of this plan. We'll open it up to questions and comments in just a minute. I wanted to make you all aware of a few things. So we have a project website, www.2022 JBLM And through this website, you can, first of all, enter your email address to stay up to date on the process. We'll update the site as we go through the process with additional information that you can view. And you can also access our public open house site. And so I am just going to share my screen just a moment so that we can just kind of preview that website. Bear with me for 1 second here. Okay, so this is the project website, as you can see, and we've got information on here. You can enter your email address. If you click at the top, public open house, it takes. Are you not seeing the? Oh. Okay.
There we go.
All right. Apologies. Okay, let me start over. So here's what the public website looks like. If you click up here, public open house, it'll take you to our virtual open house room. So as you can see, you've got posters on these boards. You can click here. It'll open up a poster, which you can download, you can view, you can zoom in and actually read the text. And then if you have a specific comment specific to one of these boards, you can click the comment bubble and this will pop up and we'll receive your comment. If you have general comments, you can click on this woman in the corner and then another bubble will come up. The presentation that we've been presenting is available here. And then this pencil link right here will open up a survey that you can all take to give us some targeted feedback on this process. So please, everyone, take a moment to view this site, look at the materials, and submit some comments there. Okay, that being said, we will open this up to some public comments. So if I can bring up the slideshow again. So again, you can feel free to use the chat function to enter comments into the chat box, or you can raise your hand if you would like to speak and we can unmute you. So we'll go ahead and open it up. And George, if you're online, if you can tell me if there are any comments that have come in or anyone with their hands raised.
Nothing so far, but we're excited to be engaging with everyone here.
Okay, so feel free to enter any chats or raise your hand if you would like to speak, if you have any questions or any comments. We've got about 15 minutes left in our time block, so we'll leave this open for anyone who wishes to say anything. Yeah.
Jeff, this is Bill.
Mhm.
Lacking comments from the public. Maybe you can show the survey, the public survey.
Sure. Yeah, we can run through that. It looks like we do have one person raising his hand, so we'll Joseph Pike and Maria. I don't know if you are able to unmute Joseph so he can speak.
Working on that now. You should be allowed to speak.
Hello, can you hear me?
Sure can.
Hi, this is Joe Peak from JBLM Public Affairs. Just wondering, what is the period of time for the survey for respondents? Is that open now and then going for a couple of months?
Yes, it is open now until August 11th.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. It looks like somebody typed in a comment. saying these are helpful, how often we'll be having these types of public info webinars and forums. We have a couple of different points throughout the process where we will solicit input. So in the fall, we'll be reviewing draft recommendations, and in the winter, we'll have a draft plan. We don't have any dates on the calendar at the moment, but we will have future opportunities for public comment. So please, best way to stay up to date is enter your email on the website, or to check back periodically for updates and future opportunities for comment. And you can in fact enter a comment at any time on the website. We received another comment that if we haven't already, we can review the Department of Commerce's 2016 Civilian Military Land Use Study. It's 5 years old, but still relevant. So thank you for that tip. Dan Cardwell.
Thank you. Thank you. You had the comment regarding the potable water supplies and so forth. I just want to make sure that your team is aware of the recent update to the Pierce County Coordinated Water System Plan that addresses water, Group A water purveyors within the county. And so there is a lot of good information in there about wholesaling of water across the county, as well as the projections, the capacities and projections by each of the water purveyors. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other hands raised? Okay, well, unless if other people want to raise their hands, they can go ahead and do so. In the meantime, I'll show you all the public survey. If I can bring up my website again here. Here we go. All right. So if you click on the pencil, it takes you to a Microsoft Forms site, and this is the survey. So we first of all just ask a little bit of demographic information so we can get a sense of who's answering the survey and what your residential zip code is. And then we would like to get a sense from all of you of how important each of these resource areas are to you, and how important they are in improving the South Sound as a whole. So these are each of the resource areas that we previewed down the side here. And then a rating from 1 to 5, with 1 being the least important and 5 being the most important. And just how important do you think these are to the region? And then just a couple of open-ended questions about what about the future of the region that might make you feel anxious or frustrated. This is kind of the what problems do we have, and what problems should we try to fix? And then broadly, what do you think that JBLM and local governments and the SSMCP can do to improve the quality of life in the South Sound? And that's it. So pretty quick survey, but we appreciate any and all feedback from you. So everybody on the line, if you can take a moment to fill this out, and then talk to your friends and family and neighbors and have them fill this out as well. That'll be a big help and give us some good information to guide us in our study. All right, George or Maria, do we have any other hands raised?
Jeff, this is Joe Peak from JBLM Public Affairs again. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Quick question. We have not and I probably need to talk this over with Bill, we have not shared the survey's availability on JBLM social media, which I think we could. I'm watching this on my phone, so it's relatively small, but could we get I guess a small paragraph or something that would, in the most concise way, explain this, a good way to explain this on social media, along with a link to the survey?
Yeah, we sure can. Let me, can you, well, I think Bill probably has your email, and then we can work something up and then get that to you. So we'll do that here very shortly.
Jeff, this is Bill, and Joe, yes, we will get you the information. And in fact, I was going to approach your new Chief of Staff, David Fulmer, about sending this out base wide, or at least to the civilian workforce on JBLM. They tend to be longer and probably will have more important, valid information for us. So I'll work with you on that.
Sounds good, Bill. Thank you.
Sure.
All right. Any other comments or questions from anyone in the room? All right. Well, we appreciate your time. We've got about 5 minutes left, so we'll keep the line open in case anyone has any questions or any thoughts. But we really appreciate your time viewing our presentation today. And please go ahead and check out our virtual room and look at those posters and give us your comments. And please take the survey. And then, as I mentioned, talk to your neighbors and your family and friends and coworkers, and have them check out the website as well. And fill out the survey. Your comments are really valuable to us, and we really value your perspective. So please take a moment to do that. And we hope you enjoyed the presentation, and we look forward to working through this process with all of you. So just a quick recap. We're really in the existing conditions analysis phase of our project. We'll be compiling our analysis into a report, and then we'll be developing some draft recommendations in the fall, and then a draft plan will be released early in 2022, and then we'll review those and the draft recommendations, and then the plan will be finalized in March of 2022. So please check back on the website over the coming months to get updates. Enter your email in the website to be notified of updates, and then let us know if you have any questions or comments.